when Friday evening, shortly before the beginning of Shabbat, I'm referring to Friday, the 6th of October of the current Gregorian year, 2023. I went online extending greetings to various communities, particularly to the people and friends of Israel, since this was the closing of Sukkot and also beginning of Asasati and Simchat Torah. I myself could not anticipate that some 14 hours later, a very evil, notorious, ruthless, and vicious group of people would invade Israel, slaughtering and killing too many people, some 1,400 in number, while abducting some 200 people from the state of Israel. I extended happy greetings to my friends or all those who considered me to be their friend. But alas, my joy of those happy days or sacred days did not last long. On the following day, I received not merely the grim, but the heart-breaking news of grave tragedies taking place on the soil of Israel, even the state of Israel. Perhaps in order to understand the situation more vividly, we need to look back into the history of Israel. According to the Torah, the Holy Bible, especially the Old Testament of the Holy Bible, God the Almighty, the creator of the universe, called Abraham, or Abraham in English, commanding him to leave his father's land, his father's country, his kin, and to go into an unknown land, whom he also commanded to acknowledge him, God the Almighty, as his God and only God. God promised Abraham that he would ensure that the new country would be his, belonging to his descendants. When Abraham left, or I should say Abram in those days, left Luz along with his consort Sarai, later known as Sarah or Sarah, Abraham did not know anything about that particular country. And no doubt, Abraham was confronted with various phases of life, including famine, when he went down to Egypt, calling his wife, his half-sister, his sister, who was taken into the house of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt of those days, but later released because God revealed to Pharaoh that Sarai was Abraham's, or I should say Abraham's wife. Later, Sarai persuaded Abram to have a child with Sarah's maid, the slave girl Hagar. But God said to Abraham, as he called him Abraham, father of many nations, that his promised son would be born of Sarah even at her old age, and would be called Isaac or Isaac, meaning laughter, because in her old age she, according to scientific doctrines, was no longer to conceive and bear a son. But God also promised that Isaac would become the owner of the promised land through his descendants after some 400 years of slavery in Egypt. And this happened when Moses brought out the people of Israel, when God divided the Red Sea, or it is also called Red Sea, apart, bringing the people from the land of Egypt by his mighty hand and leading them on the desert, while being a pillar of light at night and also being the cloud of shade during the day. Through their own errors and disobedience, the sons of Israel or their descendants spent some 40 years in the wilderness. But Joshua, who was obedient to God the Almighty, was able to bring the people of Israel to the promised land. And since then, and ever since, the people have been confronted with various enemies of various times and stages, groups of people. But when the people of Israel persuaded the prophet Samuel to anoint a king, it was Saul in English, perhaps Shaul in Hebrew, was anointed the first king of Israel, and he established his kingdom in Jerusalem, or Yerushalayim perhaps in Hebrew. And it became the kingdom of the people of Israel. Later, when Shaul or Saul betrayed God, God ensured that Daud or David would become the leading king of Israel, and his son Solomon would build a temple in Jerusalem, or Jerusalem in English. So that Jerusalem was most certainly the very sacred city of the Jewish people. Indeed, it is wrong for any other nation to claim Jerusalem to be their own. At the same time, however, God also said that my house will be a house of prayer for all nations. And therefore Jerusalem should also be a place where all the nations of the world who believe in God the Almighty should be able to come and worship the only true and living God there. This includes also the Temple Mount, the most sacred place for the Jewish nation. They should be able to go there and worship along with other nations of the world who come to that place in peace, remembering the word shalom, which of course also be interpreted meaning peace. Alas, this has been shattered by the terrorist group known as Hamas only some 9 days ago, precisely on the 7th of October, the 7th of October of the current year 2023, when gunmen crossing from Gaza into Israel killed some 1,400 people of various nationalities, mainly the citizens or the nationals of the State of Israel. Yes, according to the international law, even befitting the UN Charter, the Charter of the United Nations Organization, precisely Article 51 of the Charter, the United Nations State of Israel, fully recognized State of Israel, has every legitimacy, every legitimate right to retaliate in self-defense and the defense of the people of Israel. But again, that defense, that striking of war ought to befit also the same charter, which ensures that innocent civilians ought not to be harmed. Returning to the Torah or the Holy Bible, even to Abraham, we see that when 3 angels in personification of human beings appeared before the tent of Abraham at Mamre, Abraham invites them to refreshment of a meal which he himself serves and awaits their pleasure. Then, of course, the Almighty reveals Abraham his plan to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah due to the wrongful acts committed there. But Abraham takes upon himself to cross-examine God the Almighty with all due respect, of course. And he questions whether God would spare Sodom and Gomorrah if 50 individuals who were righteous were found there, coming down to 45, 40, 30, 20, even 10 righteous individuals. And God the Almighty agrees to spare Sodom and Gomorrah, even if 10 righteous individuals were found there. I believe, even at this very moment, there are at least 10 righteous individuals in Gaza. And as God's people on earth, the people of Israel, the very firstborn son of God the Almighty, ought to remember God's mercy towards the human race. Not long ago, we remembered that particular day of fasting known to us, those who believe in God the Almighty. The very day of repentance, the day of penitence, when we fast for 25 hours even without drinking water. The very day. We also read the book of the prophet Jonah, when God spared that city of Nineveh, which was supposed to be thrown down for their sins, but when they repented, they were spared. because God showed mercy towards those people and demonstrated his mercy by ensuring that a plant would grow up within a light to shade Jonah, and the following day it would wither by being consumed by a worm. Then should not the people of God the Almighty also consider and reconsider the innocent of the city of Gaza, and to ensure that those innocent people are not harmed? A question I raise upon the people who believe in God the Almighty and claim Israel as their own, befitting the Torah or the Holy Bible. Yom Kippur was a day of penitence, but it was also a day of remembrance. Remembrance that God showed mercy towards his own people, but also the peoples of the world. Should we also not act accordingly, befitting that commandment that I desire mercy and not sacrifice? A question I raise before the leaders of the world, including the most respected President of the State of Israel, the most respected and honorable President of the State of Israel, the most respected and honorable Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and most beloved and respected people, the nationals, the citizens of the State of Israel, towards whom I show my respect while sharing their grief and pain even tonight. I say again, Shalom, peace, and Lehi Tov. See you again.